Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom. How's it going?
Tony, we get to do a little bit of a breaking news show. Been a little bit of time since we've done one of these. I just want to, first of all, say congratulations to Jay Timmons for his commitment to Ohio State. And second of all, say thank you to Jay Timmons for announcing this today, as opposed to this time tomorrow when we will be driving to Purdue. So great timing all around, I'd say.
I would also say enough with these kids of players that we watched being players that we now watch. Like, can we stop with this? It's a little bit much. Jay Timmons, of course, the son of former Florida State linebacker Lawrence Timmons, former Pittsburgh linebacker, Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker Lawrence Timmons. And that is why Jay Timmons, the cornerback, was flipped from Florida State, from Pine Richland in Western PA. And anytime you can go get the top guy in there, or one of the top guys in Western PA, that has done well for Ohio State over the years. And based on the Rivals has him as the number 29 player in the class, the number 2 cornerback overall in the class, the number 3 player in the state. The Rivals industry ranking has him number 111 overall. The 24/7 industry, the composite has him 136 overall. Very good flip here for the Buckeyes. And, you know, it's strange with all of this upheaval in college football, Tom. You are starting to see Ohio State be able to do what happens like with Nick Saban or the SEC. They just wait until like November and December to start flipping players. Now Ohio State is at their own griddle because of, thanks in part because of the coaching upheaval and just the craziness that is college football now.
Yeah, this is the, first flip of what could be more than one breaking news show to come at various points in the next between now and let's at least say early signing day. But this is an opportunity for Ohio State to sort of, number one, point to, look at the success we're having on defense right now. Look at the development you're seeing from, hey, the guys who played corner here last year, well, they're all cashing NFL paychecks right now. And the guys who are playing corner here right now, boy, they're having pretty good years, and they're going to be cashing NFL paychecks pretty soon. And Tim Walton, he came to Ohio State. This is one where we need to give Tim Walton a little bit of a shout out, because this is a big recruiting win for him. He has done a great job both as a recruiter and a developer. We talk all the time about Matt Patricia and how personable he is and how well he gets along. Tim Walton has a great relationship with the guys in his room. I mean, like really, really great relationship with the guys in his room. So that's, he deserves a lot of credit here. But also, this is also an opportunity for Ohio State, as you said. Look around the nation right now. Jay Timmons is playing, he was committed to a school at Florida State where it is more or less an open secret that Mike Norvell may not be there this time next year. That has been talked about. The athletic director's vote of confidence there was, well, we'll talk about it after the season, which is like, your kids are asking you, can you stop and get ice cream on the way home? It's like, well, we'll see when we get there, won't we? And so you've got that where you can take advantage of some, perhaps doors reopening as a result of some upheaval in other places. And you get a really highly ranked player from the Western Pennsylvania area, which is a place where, that's really kind of home territory for Penn State. Well, guess what? Penn State also has a little bit of upheaval. And, this is something we've seen a bunch over the years with Ohio State, where Texas was really going through a rough patch, and all of a sudden J.K. Dobbins and Jeff Okudah and those guys show up at Ohio State. And even before that, Georgia under Mark Richt was sort of going through a rough patch, and all of a sudden, hey, Raekwon McMillan and Von Bell are Buckeyes. How about that? That's something that, there's lots to sell Ohio State, but, when you have guys who maybe have a personal or a geographic tie to a school, and then those schools are not maybe having the seasons or the general trajectory that you'd hope, that's something that a school at Ohio State, which has a lot of stability and a lot of success right now to point to, they can maybe capitalize on that.
Yeah, and Jay Timmons is an elite playmaker offensively and defensively. Of course, Ohio State will be looking at him defensively. And, when you see some of his clips, he plays safety. He'll play inside in terms of a nickel back or, can certainly play outside. He reminds me a little bit of Jermaine Matthews in terms of just his playmaking. And that was one of the things that separated Jermaine Matthews. Once he got the ball in his hand, he could do some things with it. But whether he's inside or outside, like I think he could answer the question that a lot of Buckeye fans have, like, what would this secondary look like if Jermaine Matthews was in the nickel the entire time, or somebody like Jermaine Matthews? And I think maybe Jay Timmons could answer that for them. This kind of replaces the Jacob Weatherspoon decommitment a while back, but arguably with a more dynamic playmaker. Or he and Jordan Thomas could just pair to be up the outside corners in this class, and that's pretty darn good, and go from there. But either way, this is not somebody that you're going to say, you know what, I think we're okay, because you look at what they're looking for in terms of coverage, and they're not there yet. So this is a big get for the Buckeyes, and one that, you like you said, you taken an advantage of just everything going on, and now you have a player that comes from a pedigree that wants to be developed, and now Ohio State will have this opportunity to do that for him.
Yeah, and I think the point that he could play in the slot and he could play outside, that's an important one, because this is an Ohio State team where this is not, as I mentioned earlier, Tim Walton has done a really good job in recruiting the last few years, and that room is now relatively well stocked. They have brought in a ton of talent. Devin Sanchez, obviously the sort of headliner of the 2025 class, and now you got a couple guys who are top 100 at, ish guys at the very least for the 2026 class. You're not necessarily, I don't want to, get too far ahead of ourselves, but I think since Devin Sanchez was playing meaningful snaps against Texas in day one of his true freshman season, I think it's probably safe to pencil Devin Sanchez in at one of the outside corner positions for the next 2 years. So the fact that you've got a couple guys who are going to be able to fit those, somewhere in that depth chart, and you've still got Aaron Scott, and you still got Bryce West and Miles Lockhart from a couple of years earlier. There's a lot of talent on this team where you've got, you can slide in kind of wherever is needed. And as we see, they will move guys inside and out. Jermaine Matthews, when Lorenzo Styles is out, Jermaine Matthews can just slide inside. That's fine. Not a big deal. You can, that just gives you more flexibility, more of a path to the field early. And that's something that they love, whether that's on the offensive line or at the different wide receiver positions or different corner spots.
Well, I also like the fact, and this is the last thing I'll say, when they go and get these receivers that are also corners, it works. Like Denzel Burke was a receiver / corner. Marshawn Lattimore, Garyon Conley, and Denzel Ward were all outstanding offensive players in Ohio, and also turned out to be first-round corners. So I like getting corners that know how to play the ball and know how to, the old adage, well, that's why he plays defense. He can't catch. Well, what about if you get a defender who can? That's usually not a bad idea. So there you go. Newest commit for the Buckeyes, Jay Timmons out of Pine Richland in Pennsylvania, a flip from Florida State, possible 5-star guy at the end of the recruiting stretch there. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you've not yet done so. Of course, 5-star rating interview is always appreciated. The Buckeye Weekly Podcast on all of your audio platforms. And of course, check out Tom's Buckeyes tomorrow morning as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all later.